for being here tonight. My name is Elizabeth Grieser. I'm with the League of Women Voters of Metropolitan Columbus. Welcome to this Meet the Candidates Forum for Gahanna and East Columbus races. We hope that this will provide you with information for the upcoming November election. Please make sure you have a voting plan for November 8th. Early in-person voting started today at the Board of Elections office on Morse Road. If you want to vote by mail, you must submit a written absentee ballot request form to the Board of Elections. And election day is Tuesday, November 8th. You can verify election day polling places by contacting the Board of Elections. In addition to the candidate forums, our league publishes a voter guide every year. Candidates provide written answers to our questions. Our voter guide is currently available online at vote411.org. And the voter guide lists all candidates running for election in Franklin County. We do have some hard copies available here tonight. For those of you who are listening to us via live stream, there will be hard copies available in your local public library. The League of Women Voters is dedicated to expanding public awareness about government issues and encouraging active participation in government. The League does not support or oppose any political parties or candidates. Please visit us on our website to learn more about the League and to become a member. And now I will turn this event over to tonight's moderator, Brad Fisher, who is the president of the Gahanna Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm honored to be here. This is, it's a great honor to be able to moderate this event. And, this isn't my first rodeo. I've done a few of these moderation type events before, so I'm happy to be here. The Gahanna Area Chamber of Commerce. We serve not just Gahanna proper, but the entire Gahanna area. So we've got businesses that are members all throughout the Gahanna area, and just really honored to be here. So tonight, we have different races that are going to be participating in tonight's forum. We have folks from the Senate District 3, along with the Franklin County Common Pleas judicial system. And unfortunately, Jill Rudler, at the last minute, she was not able to make it tonight. So I think she was going to send some representatives here. Is there anybody here with Jill Rudler's campaign? Okay, and your name is?
I'm Cameron.
Cameron, okay, so if you have any questions regarding Jill Rudler's campaign, you can talk to Cameron. Mary Lightbody was planning on being here to answer questions. Mary, can you stand up and say hi? This is our current state representative, Mary Lightbody. And so if anybody has questions for Cameron or for Representative Lightbody, you can certainly speak with both of them. In addition, we invited U.S. Congressional District 3 race and the Ohio District 5, but most of the forum organizers had a positive answer, but a lot of our Republican representatives did not reply. So tonight is going to be probably a relatively short night because we're only going to deal with two.
One of the candidates here.
I'm sorry?
You have one of those candidates here. Current state rep.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I'm sorry. Would you mind? Yep.
Coach Brown.
Okay.
For House District 5.
For District 5. So okay. And your counterparty did not show up either. Okay.
Even with mine, my counterpart didn't show up.
Okay. All right. Well, I did not realize we were going to have your presence. So thank you guys for being here. So if you guys have any questions for any of these folks, by all means, we'll have some time to mix and mingle after the event, and you can ask questions. Unfortunately, the League of Women Voters, we are not allowed to put you guys on the stand and answer questions unless you have an opponent next to you, and so I can't invite you up to the stage. So I'm going to just explain the procedures here tonight. We are going to give everybody that comes up here a 1-minute introductory statement, okay? And I do have a timer up here, and I've got a backup timer over here. So we are going to keep you, to your limits. But you'll have an opportunity to just do an introductory statement. Then I'm going to ask some questions. And during the question and answer time, you'll either have 1 or 2 minutes, which I will specify at the time that I ask the question. I'll let you know if you have 1 or 2 minutes. And you can answer that question, and I'll alternate who gets to answer those questions first, okay? The questions have been pre-written, but we do have an opportunity for folks in the audience to ask their own questions. The only way that's going to happen is if you write it down on these slips of paper that Elizabeth, I believe you've handed out to everybody, correct? Yeah. So we're not going to have it's not going to be a raise your hand and answer, just ask any question you want. If you want to ask a question, you need to write it down on that slip and make sure you give it to Elizabeth, who's standing over there. Raise your hand, Elizabeth. Okay, and if you get it to her in time, she can bring it to me, and then I can ask that question of the candidates while they're up here. Okay? With that said, we're going to go ahead and get started with our Franklin County Common Pleas court race. So Zach, Gwynn, and Judge Holbrook, if you guys would come up to the seats here, we'll go ahead and get started. It's okay, you guys can clap. I mean, listen, here's my opinion. Whether it's somebody who's already been serving or somebody who's interested in serving, these people are interested in bettering our community. They want to serve the people of our community, right? So they deserve a round of applause. So welcome to you both. I'm going to give you both a 1-minute introductory statement. And for this, we're going to start with Zach. So Zach, give us your introductory statement. And when you hear the timer, you're done. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. My name is Zach Gwynn. I'm running for Franklin County Common Pleas Court. I am currently an assistant city attorney with the Columbus City Attorney's Office, assigned to the Public Nuisance Division, handling cases in environmental court. Before attending law school, I'm originally from Canton, Ohio. I was a victim witness advocate at the Stark County Prosecutor's Office, attended Ohio State for law school, and then was hired on by former city attorney Rick Pfeiffer as a trial prosecutor. Did prosecution for about 3 years, took cases to verdict in front of judges and juries here in Franklin County. Left shortly after, was in private practice for a short period of time, doing criminal defense throughout central Ohio. Then did some civil litigation while in private practice. Then a job opened up over on the west side of the city to essentially deal with quality of life issues. It's especially important to me because I live out on the west side. 2 of our most under-resourced communities are on the west side, Franklinton and the Hilltop. Specifically the neighborhood that I am in. Average life expectancy is 60 years old, things that I'm proud of there.
You can finish your sentence, it's okay.
Been able to close down over 50 drug houses, 2 on my own street, start a specialty docket for seniors for home repairs.
More than a finish.
Okay, thank you, Zach. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And Judge Holbrook will give you the same opportunity. You've got 1 minute. Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Judge Michael Holbrook. I'm one of the 17 judges in the Court of Common Pleas. We deal with felonies, we deal with large civil cases, and because we're the state capital, we also deal with all the state governmental issues. I can actually tell you more about the bridges in Cleveland you ever wanted to know. A little bit about me: I was born and raised here. I have 3 wonderful kids. My son's a prosecutor down at the courthouse. I just had a granddaughter I'm looking forward after the election to spending some time with. As a trial lawyer, I did it for 22 years. I was all over the state in 80 of the 88 counties throughout the state. I've been on the court. I've handled some of the larger cases we've had. I was on TV in the beginning of the year. I've had a 421,000 plaintiff class action. We've handled some large cases. And the races we're in is about experience. I've been trying cases for a long time. I can't even tell you how many. Okay, I do this for a living.
Finish your sentence.
And I ask for your vote this November.
Fantastic. All right. All right, with that, we'll get into the meat of this conversation. So we're going to start with you, Mr. Judge Holbrook, I should say. Your first question to answer, and you'll have a minute again. Because we really only have 2 things that we're going to be doing tonight, 2 races, I might give you a little extra time. So if the buzzer goes off,
offer free time to a lawyer. Come on.
All right. And I do want to remind you that we are trying to project this live on Facebook, and so if you could speak toward the camera and speak loudly so that the camera can hear you and so that people in the back can hear you. Are you guys able to hear so far? Everything good? Thumbs up in the back row? Okay. Fantastic. Okay, first question, Judge Holbrook. How would you ensure fairness in the courtroom?
Well, I do it every day. I'm the first one out on the bench. I run my courtroom so that people can have an opportunity to reflect to me what their positions are on cases. I don't deny people the right to tell me what they think on a case. We had a young man this morning where we had very big competing interests, and I listened to everybody that had input on the matter. We have a process called a pre-sentence investigation. We're able to do that. I work out there till I'm done. I take this because I do this job because of the commitment. I can make more money as a trial lawyer, but I enjoy getting up every day and going in and trying to make a difference. If I can change one person, it's a good day. If I change two, it's almost a conspiracy. So, I'm happy. I enjoy these cases, and I enjoy coming in court every day.
Fantastic. Thank you, Judge. All right, and Zach, the same question. The question is, how would you ensure fairness in the courtroom? Speak loudly.
Yes. I think it's most important that everyone needs to be treated the same when they're in front of me in court. And I think what that requires is understanding the perspective of multiple different people. I've served as a victim witness advocate, as a prosecutor, defense attorney, civil litigant on the plaintiff side and the government side. And I think it's important that our judges are able to really put themselves in the shoes of everyone who might be in the room as well as possible to make sure that everyone's perspective is understood. And that is something that I would promise to do when elected. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Zach. And we will move on to question number 2. And Zach, you're going to start with this one, so you get to go again here. This question is, how can you make municipal court more efficient?
So this is
More common, please.
Oh, sorry, my
Sorry,
notes.
there's my error.
Yeah. The Court of Common Pleas more efficient. I'm just reading what I was given. So, Court of Common Pleas, how can you make it more efficient?
Well, I think most importantly, especially on the civil side, is making sure that motions are ruled on timely, making sure that the judge is there and ready to rule on cases and ready to hear cases as soon as all of the litigants are present. Just making sure that you are also available. If a litigant has a question, I want to be able to take that phone call the day of and make sure that they have a quick answer. Really, it's about being committed, being present, and making sure that all those cases are not stagnating there on the docket.
Thank you. All right. Judge Holbrook, same question.
Well, we deal with it every day. Okay, we're doing things to try to move cases along. It sometimes means bringing the parties in and talking to them, seeing if we can find alternative ways to resolve their problems. The motion play is there. We have to go through the motion play. We had a bit of a setback with the COVID, like everybody else. We couldn't get trials because we couldn't bring jurors in, but we're trying to get caught up on it. We try every day to handle the cases that come there and try to get resolutions for the people that come in front of us. That's the most important thing to them. So in trying to change things, we don't need a lot of change. We just need to follow through and take care of the people that come in front of us. And that's our most important part of our job.
Fantastic. Thank you, Judge Holbrook. Elizabeth, were there any questions for our candidates here in this race?
No, we're not going to take
Okay.
questions.
No additional questions. Well, I have one question of my own.
Okay.
This is, you're each going to have 5 to 10 seconds to answer this question. What's your favorite restaurant in the Columbus area?
Who's
Tony's.
going first?
Tommy's Pizza?
No, Tony's.
Oh, Tony's. Okay.
Italian
What'd you say?
downtown.
Tommy's Diner.
Tommy's
Broad
Diner.
Street.
Okay. All right. Very good. Can we give these folks a round of applause? Oh, are we going to do a closing statement without?
Yes,
Oh,
sorry.
okay. Don't stand up yet. So I'm going to give you a minute to do a closing statement. This time we will start with Judge Holbrook. So here
I
we
want
go.
to thank everybody coming out. This is probably one of the largest crowds we've had this year. It's important that you find, and this election's about experience. You would hear it throughout. I bring almost 40 years to the trial room. I don't have to have an education in order to do the job. And I ask for your vote here in November. This will be my last term. It'll be your last chance to vote for me, okay? Next time in 28, I would age out. You can't start a term at 70. So I ask for your vote, and I appreciate it. I hope my experience, and I do apologize for being all over your TV the beginning of the year, guys. I'm sorry. Okay? I'm glad that's over. Put that aside. I ask for your vote. Thank you.
I do want to echo Judge Holbrook in the sense that it is great to have everyone here. You are all very committed. It is so important that folks engage with their elected officials and really have an opportunity to come here and listen. My entire job, my focus is on improving communities, specifically out on the west side of the city. And so with that, it is about working with folks who are some of the most marginalized in our communities and who don't always have somebody to advocate for them in a city that has seen a lot of success. So that is the perspective I want to bring. It is a balanced perspective of, again, being a victim witness advocate, prosecutor, defense attorney, and I hope that the voters really do see value in that. So I would respectfully ask for your vote, and I have to say, remember in November to win with Gwyn. Thank you.
Very good. All right, round of applause. Thank you, gentlemen.
I'm going to stick around. I think you'll stick around.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Thanks, Zach. So both of these gentlemen will be around to answer your questions after the event tonight, so feel free to stick around and ask questions if you have them. Once again, due to Ms. Rudler not being able to be here tonight, we will pass on the Representative Lightbody and Jill Rudler forum. So we're going to now switch it over to Senator Maharath. Are you here? Did you show up? There you are, Senator, yeah. Okay, and Michelle Reynolds. Come on up. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, so we are going to follow the same format here, ladies. So I'm going to give you each 1 minute for an opening statement, and you can just kind of say what you want to say. And we're going to start with Senator Maharath, so take it away.
You still want me to talk in the camera?
Yeah, talk in the camera and talk loud, because we need to project.
Thank you so much for having us tonight. I really appreciate the invitation from the League of Women Voters to have a candidate forum. My name is State Senator Tina Maharath. 4 years ago, I got elected into the Ohio Senate, becoming Ohio's first Asian American woman elected to our General Assembly. But 4 years ago, when I initially ran for office, I was a single mom who just wanted to bring a voice to the State House for young families. Politics can be tough, but I took the challenge and I worked through it all, and I got elected as the first woman in the General Assembly. It feels weird because I'm trying to talk to the camera, but also the crowd. But since then, I've done exactly what I had vowed for. So I vouched for fighting for children. Because children, they need a good quality public education regardless of the zip code that they live in. I fought to protect senior citizens.
Finish your sentence, okay.
Yeah, fought for our senior citizens to make sure that we serve them effectively. But yes, thank you for having me tonight.
Thanks for being here. And Michelle Reynolds, 1 minute.
Good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for having us here tonight. My name is Michelle Reynolds. I am a candidate for Ohio Senate District 3. I live in Canal Winchester with my husband, who is a pastor. We are business owners. I have been uplifting my community for the past 25 years as a nonprofit CEO, providing housing to formerly incarcerated men and women and youth who return home from prison and don't have a place to stay. I've hired over 200 individuals and created those jobs. I've also housed over 5,000 individuals in the past 16 years. I most recently was the faith-based director for the state of Ohio appointed by Governor DeWine, where I've helped numerous faith-based and nonprofit organizations access government resources to help their philanthropic work. I am now running for state senate. I'm an addictive problem solver. I'm running to make a difference and to produce results because I am a producer. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. You did that with 1 second left. It's like you prepared ahead. Okay, so now we're going to get into the questions here. So now we're going to start with you, Michelle. What are your 1 or 2 top priorities if elected to office?
One of my top priorities is to address our education system. I believe public schools work. I'm public school educated. Because of a good public school, I was able to go to college and get 5 college degrees and now working on my 6th in law school at the University of Dayton. However, every parent is not having that experience. So I believe in empowering parents through education. Parents need to have choice, whether that's private school choice or public school choice. Even if you move to a suburb because of the good schools, that is a school choice, and parents should have the right to take their kids to schools that are working for them. And we also need to fix our public schools, especially in our inner cities. I don't think it's acceptable that some of our kids are not graduating from school at 70% in our Columbus City schools. And in our suburban schools, they definitely need our support. But I believe that parents and caregivers know what's best for their kids, and because of your economic status, just because you may not have enough money to put your kids in the schools that you want, we should be able to support them to go to the schools that they deserve. So I want to tackle education.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. And now we'll move to Tina. Same question. That question is, what are your 1 or 2 top priorities if elected to office?
Well, my top priority that I'm currently prioritizing while I'm in office, because I'm returning in November regardless of the election results, is to continue to bring more good paying jobs here to the state of Ohio, such as Intel. Intel has brought us some good livable wage jobs, and now we got to continue bringing good union jobs here to the state of Ohio. The General Assembly have already invested into COVID relief funds package in order for us to recover from this pandemic. Those good paying jobs in the union is going to bring 7,000 jobs just for Intel alone. And with our COVID packages, it's meant to bring more jobs in the field of childcare, in the field of hotel and lodging, in restaurants, and it's supposed to help uplift more small businesses. I intend on also trying to fight for access to more affordable health care. As we recover from this pandemic, we are still suffering from that access, and I want to ensure that all Ohioans are able to afford their health care, and they don't need to try to decide if they need to pay for their medical bill or their electric bill, but thank you.
All right. Thank you, Senator. All right, fantastic. We're going to move on to the next question. But before I do that, I want to remind you that if you do have a question that you want to ask either of these ladies, you can fill out that form and give it to Elizabeth over here. And they will vet them. And if there are questions that are appropriate, then we will add them to the end of our list of questions. And we only have 80 more questions to go.
One clarifying comment about audience questions. The questions must be applicable for both candidates. The questions we ask will be answered by both candidates, so please make sure that the questions are generalized in that way. Thank you.
So yeah, did everybody hear that? Okay, all right. So no questions to a particular individual. Any questions should be able to be answered by both candidates. Okay, and so let's see. I started with you last time, Michelle, right? So this time we'll start with Senator Maharat. What is Maharath? I'm sorry, what is your position on government oversight of gun ownership and safety?
In terms of gun ownership and safety, in regards to your question, I think we can all agree that we want to see safer communities, but we also want to protect our Second Amendment rights. I do have a bill out there to protect our kids and also address the Second Amendment rights. I want to see more gun reform. I like to see us take more action to require background checks, because the point is, guns aren't the ones killing people. People are the ones killing people. We also need to see some red flag laws out there to try to prevent the wrong people from having the guns. And I want to see more action with our government in terms of ensuring that those people who sincerely wanted to protect themselves can still protect themselves, all while ensuring that we don't give the opportunity for criminals to have easy access to guns and bring more crime to our community. But I do welcome more opportunities to discuss the discussion, because I know it's a very hot topic that we all want to talk about, but I think we can all agree that we want to see safer streets.
Thank you. Perfect timing. Look at that. All right, Michelle, same question. I'll repeat it. What is your position on government oversight of gun ownership and safety?
Well, we certainly want to defend our Second Amendment rights. That is a right given to us in our Constitution. But I also agree that we need to have safer communities. And right now, a lot of people do not feel safe, especially there's no police department that is fully staffed right now. So we need to make sure that we are able to defend our families, but we also need to, with freedoms comes responsibility. We also have our school systems that, a lot of times, our kids are just not safe. And so we need to make sure that we increase access to security, to have safer schools, to expand our school resource officer program. But in terms of government oversight, we do need to get guns out of the hand of the wrong people. It's not the law-abiding citizens who have guns that are using the guns responsibly. It is criminals and those that should not have guns that are causing the problem. And so we definitely have to address that issue. We can't legislate morality. We've tried, but we need to do a better job at trying to get the guns out of the hands of the wrong people.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on, question number 3. And this one you're going to start with again, Michelle. What is your position on women's reproductive rights and health?
So I think we need to address this issue with lots of compassion and concern. As a post-abortive woman in my younger 20s and now a mom of 2 and a grandmother in my later 40s, I know this issue firsthand, and it's very personal for me. And I think it's something that is not black and white. I think it's something that we need to address with compassion and not condemnation. I am pro-life. I'm also pro-woman. I'm pro-family. And I believe that we need to invest in women's health and women's reproductive rights in a way that they don't feel backed into corners where they have to make a decision between life and quality of life. I believe that we should be making abortion an exception and not the rule. I believe that there needs to be exception for abortion because it's just not a black and white issue. But we also need to value life and put it first. And so whatever we need to do in terms of, I'm a proponent of contraception, over-the-counter contraception, education, helping partners with the domestic violence situation, but we need to take care of women in a way that they feel supported so that we can value life, but we can also have exception in those exceptional cases. Abortion is not birth control, and it should not be abused as a general form of birth control.
Thank you. All right. And I'll give you some extra time too, Senator Maharat, since we went over it. And actually, I realized I was supposed to give you a little bit extra time on these questions, so I'm bumping it up. We're going to do a minute and about 15 seconds because that's what Michelle took on this question. Same question for you, Senator. What is your position on women's reproductive rights and health?
I would like to agree that with my opponent, we are pro-women. What that means for me, though, is I'm fighting for women, and I've fought for women these last 4 years. I voted against our heartbeat ban, which bans abortion after 6 weeks because it had no exceptions at all. Not for rape, not for incest, not even for the life of the mother. So for me, it's all about the freedom of choice, having that decisions for the women to choose for their own choice of their body and for their own reproductive health rights. There is a lot more work that needs to be done on that topic. We have a long way to go, but of course, just like what my opponent said, it's one of those decisions that we really need to have a real discussion with. It can't just always be far left, far right. We need to come down to the middle and figure out what is the best position that we can move Ohio forward with.
Okay, all right. Thank you. And that brings us to our last formal question here. And we're going to start with you, Senator. You're going to have 2 minutes to answer this one. Let me reset my timer here. And the last question is, well, the last question I've got, do we have additional questions from the audience?
Yeah.
Okay, so we will have more questions, so don't wait. How do you view Ohio's criminal justice system, and what changes would you make?
That is a very great question because that's a question that we all want to have answered. So when it comes down to Ohio's criminal justice system, there needs to be a reform. We need to consider a bail reform. We need to consider who is getting in charge in the jail cells, because right now our jail cells are overpopulated. But the thing is, we keep throwing them in jail, but not figuring out the problems that are bringing them to jail. We need to find better solutions. I unfortunately don't sit in any committees that deal with criminal justice. But what I do like to see happen with my colleagues in the General Assembly when we return in November is to talk about the cash bail bonds and talk about how we can move our state forward and find more solutions to figure out why are these criminals causing crimes, how can we directly help them, and how can we rehabilitate them to be law-abiding citizens. we need to move our state forward, but we need to make sure that those who are currently incarcerated can find out what's the root cause of your problems. And what mainly has to do with mental health issues, and that's the investments that I've made these last 4 years, is to invest more in mental health and try to figure out what behavioral health, what can we do to move Ohio forward.
Fantastic. You got about 45 seconds left. You want to seize your time? Finished?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right. I know it's hard to talk for 2 minutes straight. And same question for you, Michelle. How do you view Ohio's criminal justice system? What changes would you make?
So this is an area that I specialize in. I'm a subject matter expert in working with formerly incarcerated men and women, specifically because I saw a need in the community 16 years ago where we had people returning from prison without a place to stay and just coming back to the community homeless, which caused a serious public safety risk for our communities. And so it is a broken system, and we definitely need to address it. And I believe that when you take a top-down approach like we've done for the last however many years, that's why we have the system that we have, which is broken. There are cracks in the system. We need a bottom-up approach. Those that are closest to the problem are closest to the solution. And so I believe that we need to fix it, and we need people at the table that understand some of the challenges of the criminal justice system. One of those challenges is collateral sanctions. We send people to prison, and we expect them to come back from prison and be able to be law-abiding citizens without the supports that they need. So one of those supports, the critical supports, is for anybody in this room. It's housing and it's employment. If you don't have housing or employment, the only thing that you can do is go back to a lifestyle of crime. But with collateral sanctions, what we do is we say, okay, well, you've gone to prison, but when you get back, now you can't get a license for this, you cannot work in certain fields, and so we actually handcuff them so that they cannot take care of their own families. And my goal is to create a pathway of prosperity so that all Ohio families can actualize their version of the American dream, whether or not you've had a criminal past or you have or you haven't, you'd be able to move forward with your and move your family forward and be law-abiding. Some people are in jail because of mental health issues, but some of them are there because of broken families, and broken families create broken systems. So I just believe that we need to do a major overhaul with bail reform. I'm a supporter of issue one. Issue one is about making sure that when our judges are considering bail, that they are also making sure that it's safe for the public for this person to get out of jail. We don't need to over-incarcerate, but we do need to be mindful about who needs to be on our streets to make our public more safe. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Fantastic. Thank you, ladies. We got some more questions here. How many am I going to ask? Because there's a lot here.
There's 4 here.
4.
That's probably.
Oh, they're folded.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was a full stack. Okay. So don't worry, we're not going to be here till midnight. So we've got a few more questions. These are questions from the audience. So this time we'll start with you, Michelle. What is your #1 idea about improving the economy in Ohio?
There's a lot of things going on with the economy, and I think that here in Ohio we're positioned greatly with Intel coming into the district. However, we need to make sure that our workforce is prepared for that. So there's so much opportunity here, but there's also challenge with that. However, one of the issues that we are facing, and as I've gone around on the campaign trail and talked to employers, workforce is an issue. I don't care what industry you're looking at, workforce is a huge issue, and everybody has less staff. So jobs are coming, but people are not necessarily working those jobs. And so I think that we need to give some employment relief to our, employment tax relief to our business owners. Those that are creating jobs, they are the backbone of our community. We need to give employment tax relief to them because they're actually creating jobs and they're retaining employees. But also from an employee standpoint, we need to cut our personal income taxes so that we can increase take-home pay so that people can have more money in their pockets to be able to take care of their gas and their rising grocery costs. So that's how I think we need to address inflation.
All right. Same question for you, Senator. I'll reread it. What is your #1 idea about improving the economy in Ohio?
In addition to what my opponents mentioned, to improve Ohio's economy, we also need to invest in our families. We are currently under a child care crisis right now, and it's making it hard for working families to get back to work. They're trying to figure out how are they going to possibly be able to work if they don't have the means to provide for their child care. This is a different generation where not necessarily one parent is staying at home. In most households, both parents are working. So it's nearly impossible to get our workforce driving if they don't have the means to try to get childcare. So that tends to lead to more families working at home, or one family just having one working family. But the problem is our economy can't thrive without that workforce.
All right. Thank you. Okay, and we're going to move right back to you, Senator, for our next question. Even during the worst of the pandemic, when fewer cars were on the road, traffic deaths increased. What is the legislature's role in reducing traffic death?
That's a great question, especially during the pandemic. It was one of those issues that you would never have guessed would happen. The General Assembly's role to try to reduce some of those deaths is to try to have a distracted driving bill out there. Currently, it is a secondary offense, and we would like to see some more action taken into it, and especially nowadays where texting and driving tends to be the #1 driver for some of these deaths. The situation too with distracted driving is it's as worse as drunk driving. That's one of the many ways that the General Assembly can try to address that, and I sit on a transportation committee where we tend to have those conversations, and we will continue to have those conversations, and it will likely be a priority for the next General Assembly.
Thank you, Senator. And Michelle, same question, I'll reread it. Even during the worst of the pandemic, when fewer cars were on the road, traffic deaths increased. What is the legislature's role in reducing traffic death?
Well, I'm not currently in the legislature, but I would agree with Senator Maharat that distracted driving is a huge issue, especially just in the age that we're living in. But I am a township trustee on a local level, and I know that a lot of our municipalities in our township have passed legislation and passed resolutions, if you will, regarding distracted driving, because we are seeing an uptick in that, which is causing a lot of traffic-related deaths. Also, I've seen in our local communities trying to get people to slow down because there's a lot of speeding going on, especially around our school zones. And so if I were a legislator, those are the things that I would want to focus and concentrate on, and I definitely think that there's something that we can do to make an intervention in that regard.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. All right, we're going to move on to the third question from the audience. Going right back to you, Michelle. How should parents input to the school curriculum?
How should parents input?
How should parents input to the school curriculum?
Okay, so the current way that the system is set up is that there are school boards for every for every school district, and so I believe that parents have the right to voice their concerns about what's being taught at the school, and I would start with my local school district and going to the school board meetings and talking with the school board superintendent. But parents very much should be have input as to what their kids are learning. I know that there is a growing concern about sexual orientation and gender identity in our schools, critical race theory being taught in the schools. There is a lot of parents that are upset. Some school districts are allowing things, others aren't. And so I don't know what the role of our state school board is doing regard to that, but I know that this is something that our local communities, especially in this district, care about very, very much. And so parents should be showing up at the school board, and if you don't like what's happening, then I would encourage you to even run for school board.
A challenge. Okay. And Senator, I'm going to show you the same card. It's how should parents input to school curriculum?
I think what the question's trying to ask is how should parents have an influence into the school curriculum? Similar to my opponent's answer is it all goes back to the local school board. We have a local home rule that protects the local school boards from the state legislature, and also with the state school board, you can also definitely provide input there as well. But going back to the point, it's all about local school boards, local control. If there's any questions or concerns, I encourage you all to not only run for the local school board, but also participate in your local parent-teacher associations and just have more influence with the principal or school staff. Because essentially what happens is a state legislature can provide input, but it's essentially up to the state school board and the state school board superintendent to have a general consensus to the local level, and then the local level will get to decide if they want to take that input from the state level.
All right, thank you, Senator. Michelle, same question. No, I'm sorry, yeah, we already did that. So now we're moving on to our fourth question, and so this is actually going to go back to you, Senator. So what have you done that has impacted either the LGBTQ community or a person who identifies as someone in that community?
The work that I've done for the LGBTQ community has been tremendously expansive, but one of the top champion bills that I like to say is banning conversion therapy. Banning conversion therapy will welcome all communities. Essentially what it's doing is creating more problems rather than trying to solve problems. Another championship bill is the Ohio Fairness Act as well, so that way we don't discriminate against the LGBTQ community. Because currently in the state of Ohio, that community is excluded from our discrimination laws. It's one of several bills that I have championed out there, but it's something that I really feel passionate about because it's a community that welcomes all, and we need to also welcome them as well.
Okay. Senator Michelle, same question. Do you want me to reread it?
Yes, please.
What have you done that has impacted either the LGBTQ community or a person who identifies as someone in that community?
So in my role as being a pastor's wife of a church, there have been a number of individuals that have come to our ministry who identify as LGBTQ, and you know, just embracing them as I would embrace anybody else. It's not about distinguishing them as being different, but loving them as the person and for their humanity. But also beyond that, my housing program that provides housing to formerly incarcerated men and women, we see everybody comes through the program. And so when there are individuals who identify as LGBTQ, we treat them just like we would treat anybody else. However, when they are experiencing some sort of harassment, we take that very seriously, and we make sure that they are just as safe as anybody else in the program, and that their rights are embraced and upheld. So we just want to make sure that we're treating people with dignity and respect regardless of their background or their sexual orientation.
All right, fantastic, thank you. And was that it for the questions from the audience? Okay. So before we get into closing statements, just like we did in the judicial race, you have 5 to 10 seconds to answer. What's your favorite restaurant?
So my favorite restaurant, and gosh, I can't, there's so many, I'm a foodie, okay? It's so hard to answer, but I guess you want to say just generally, my favorite restaurant in Columbus at least is Meatley, over in the north side. It's a Vietnamese restaurant, and it's refugee owned from refugees from the Vietnam War. So I guess hands down. I was trying to think of something in a district, more specifically in Gahanna. Mr. Sushi's another good one.
Yeah, okay, all right. And Michelle?
Yes, I've fallen in love with Thai Grill in Westerville.
Okay, Thai Grill in Westerville. Okay, perfect. Well, with that, we are going to give you ladies a 1-minute closing statement. So I will start the timer, and we're going to go ahead and start with you, Michelle. And you've got 1 minute for your closing statement, starting now.
I'd just like to thank all of you for the opportunity to come tonight. And I am running for Ohio Senate District 3. I'm a business owner, faith leader, elected official, nonprofit CEO, someone who cares deeply about the community that's been serving for the past 25 years. This is not about what I will do when elected to state senate. It's what I've already done and will continue to do to serve my community and uplift people, because that is what we need. I'm a problem solver, an addictive problem solver, and I'm someone who produces results. And I believe when it comes to public service, results matter. I ask for your vote on November 8th. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Senator, you've got 1 minute, closing statements. Go ahead.
Thank you again for having me here tonight. It has been a true honor to serve you for these last 4 years. I've been fighting hard for working families, but I've got a lot of more work that I need to continue to do, especially for Ohio's children. I'm from this community. I'm for this community, and I'll continue to fight for this community, but I need your vote in November to continue my fight for working families. Again, thank you for your time tonight.
Fantastic. Can we give these ladies a round of applause? All right, yeah. Thank you to everybody, especially you candidates. I know that this is a crazy time of year for you. You probably had 18 events tonight that you could have been at, but you chose this one. So thank you for being here. If you are a candidate here tonight, whether you were able to present here and answer questions, or whether you are here because your opponent's not here, I would like candidates, why don't you kind of move up to the front of, when I'm finished, why don't you move up to the front of the room, so that way folks can find you easily and they can ask questions and have a conversation with you. Would love for you guys to stick around just a little bit so that people can answer those questions. This whole thing was recorded on FaceTime, and so you can find the video on the League of Women Voters Metropolitan Columbus Facebook page. Say that 10 times fast. So if you want to review this, or just if you want to go back and look at it or share it with a friend, you can find it on the Facebook page. The league urges you all to go ahead and get your voting plan ready now, so that you're not caught off guard when it's voting day. Thank you once again for attending tonight. Again, my name is Brad Fisher. I'm with the Chamber of Commerce. If you have any questions for me, I'll stick around too. Thank you to the league. You guys did a great job putting this on. So let's give one